As many of you are probably aware through maybe seeing some of the posts I put up there already, my company's getting ready to upgrade to Civil 3D 2011 here within the next couple of weeks. And one of the things I wanted to show is something that I had to figure out, and it's not too difficult, but I figured it'd make it a little bit easier for everybody else. You know, as we all know, 2011 is very centric on the ribbon, and we actually have a menu bar that's made for our company, and that menu bar, of course, doesn't have any ribbon elements or ribbon panels. So I'm going to show how you go ahead and create those. Of course, one key thing is when you first upgrade, at least I would do, is to realize that there is the menu bar command, and you can set that to 1, and you get your menus back. I think that's paramount to teach everybody so that when you do that first day, people can get right to work with Civil 3D and don't have downtime or an excuse to not get work done. The other thing is there's under the help menu here, there's the where is my command, and then you can just browse through and look, you know, where it used to be, and then it will tell you where it's at now in the ribbon. That's very handy for people to get into the ribbon. This is the menu I'm talking about right here. So although we have this pull-down menu bar, it's great. I'd like to add a ribbon panel for that, or a ribbon tab for that. So people don't, the only way right now in 2011 to access it is to use that menu bar. And I, for one, I'm going to try to move into the ribbon, and I know a lot of other people are as well. So I want to have something there so that people can send that to 0 and still get our menus. So how we do that? Well, we go through the CUI. So load up the CUI command, and then you would load your menu as a partial CUI. So the first time you do it, you probably have to come in, browse to the location, and you're most likely coming from a CUI file or an MNU file. Once you do that, it's going to convert it into an MNUX file, so it's actually going to copy it, change its format, and then you'll be working in the MNUX. Once it's loaded as a partial, you can click on it here, and you can see going down through, here's the menus itself, and here's the toolbar. So we did have some toolbars made up from those menus, and here's the ribbon. So as you can see, the ribbon panels are blank. One nice feature is that you can right-click on any of the toolbars and hit Copy to Ribbon Panel. Unfortunately, you cannot do that for the menu bars. So the only way, I think a good way, if you do have some menu bars here, is to just right-click on these and hit Copy to Ribbon Panel. It says, you know, I'm going to copy it. So go ahead and just go through and do that. So there's certain ones here I want, and certain ones I don't, because we're going to sort of combine those. And I'm not going to go through setting this entire thing up, but what you get is when you click on these panels, now you can see it added the toolbars in, and it does a pretty good job at getting them in there. It's sort of, this was one long toolbar that had all kinds of text commands in it. It sort of broke it into 2 rows. As you click on the panel here, you can see here's the first row, and these are the commands in it, and so on and so forth, the second row. To add another row, you simply right-click on the panel itself and hit Add Row. Now you have 3 rows. If it's below the slide out, that's that little slide out piece here where when you click on it in the menu, it drops down. So if it's below that, that row would only display when you click on that. So if you want it above it, you just have to grab and drag it and move it above. To add commands to that, now it's as simple as dragging them from the drop down here. So one of the things we want to do is I actually want to, some of these I want to have below that slide out. And I'm actually going to add another row. And what you can do is then simply grab using the Shift key and drag them down into that row. So now those commands we don't really use all that often will be sort of hidden unless people use that slide out. And you can see it slides things up and down. One of the things that I struggled with a little bit, and we're going to use miscellaneous tools here to show is I wanted to show the this is a save as button we have where it does an audit, purge, and then a save, just all in a row. And I wanted to make that sort of a big button like they do here with the match properties, and then 3 rows over here. One tip is AutoCAD and Civil 3D seems to have all their ribbons set up in a 3-row state, so you always want to have 3 rows no matter what. And then everything, the height of the ribbon would be uniform across the product. So always make 3 rows no matter what. Just trust me, I went through all this, and it doesn't look very good unless you make 3 rows. To do that, to make one button larger, you can just click on the audit. This is that command. And I'm going to just go down here and change the where it's small without text to small vertical, and that's going to make that a larger button. In this case, I've actually changed the name just so it's not so large, the name underneath it. And the icon will get bigger once it actually displays it in the real ribbon right here. It doesn't represent how big the icon is. Now you can see I still need the 3-row situation. What we're going to do now is you have to add a sub panel, I think it is. Yes, a sub panel, and then you can just grab and move commands into those. So this is the first sub panel. In that sub panel, I want to add another row, and it's supposed to say row 1, row 2. I've noticed sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It works either way. And add that one to that one, and add that one to that one. And there you can see now the rows popped up. So it's sort of a little crazy, but another piece that you want to do is then, now I have these 3 sub-rows. I actually sort of have 4 rows. I have this, 3 sub-rows, and then a 4th row. So I really want these pieces to be in these 3 sub-rows. So I'm going to go add those to each of these sub-rows. See, it's a little quirky, but it gets there and it works. Now as I'm adding those, the column, that row down here sort of moved up and disappeared. So really I want to delete this row. So when you're adding a larger button, your 3-row setup is actually under the first, you have the panel itself, you have the row 1, which is this whole thing, and then you have 3 sub-rows aside of this Save As button in the first row. There's other options here. You can have the text horizontally aside of it, so on and so forth. Go that route. Another little trick is, in this is some dimensional utilities. Not a lot in here, so another little trick you'll see they do is same thing here. Just in this situation, they actually have the pieces of text out the side. So what you can do is just add another row, because remember we're going 3 rows for everything. And I'm going to move one of these down to that row. And then I can change these to be small with text, and it will put that text aside of them. And then it makes it a little bit larger for, some of those panels that really don't have all that much content. It makes it look a little better. Ultimately, you got to go through and get this all set up for all your panels. And then if you want them to be under one tab, each of these are a tab up here, which we do. In this case situation, I'm going to make a tab, make it our company, and then just move these up to that. Now, they're not copied, they're linked, so you can do this right away and then change. Oh, I keep doing the same one. You get the idea. And simply hit OK. So as you can see, it didn't add it to the tab list at the top, and that's because I need to turn it on in my workspace. So I'm going to go back in, click on my workspace, click Customize Workspace, come down here, find my new ribbon, toggle it on, and hit OK. My new ribbon tab. And there you'll see your new ribbon with your changes. So what ends up happening is you go back and forth a lot and see how it looks, and then you go back in, make some changes, keep doing that. One tip that I sort of ran into here while making this video that you didn't see is make sure when you're opening, when you first open that CUI and you load it, If you're loading it from a menu or a CUI, it's going to actually load that. It's going to make a CUI X, but it's not going to be what's loaded. So make sure that when you first go into it, if you paid attention the first time I went into HRG-copy-CUI and I was making those edits and making that ribbon in here with the panels, problem with that is it can't save it because I guess the CUI doesn't have that code intelligence in it. So you almost have to load the partial CUI, this CUI. It will make a CUI X. You have to come back down here under partial CUIs, find it, unload the CUI, and then load again the CUI X, and then make your edits. So when you're flipping to your custom menu bar file here, your CUI custom user interface file, make sure it says CUI X before you spend all kinds of time making up the ribbons, because if it's not CUI X, it's not going to save. That's it. Hope that helped. Ultimately, you spend some time in there, you can get to something that looks pretty good, and you can get to something like this. As you can see, it took some time, got things set up for the most used commands, and then the drop down and so on and so forth. To turn on and off panels, people can right-click on the panel anytime and click in here and turn on and off certain ones. And you got your drop down panels I talked about. And that's it. Thanks, and I hope this helps.